All right, we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. We're going to get started with the ACB, American Council of the Blind, Columbus chapter meeting for October the 14th, 2023. And the current time is 1:02 p.m. I am the president, Janae Miller. Welcome, everyone. OSU is up. Last time I heard, OHIO.
Yay.
And so I want to welcome everyone here again to the meeting. I hope everybody's doing well. We have a few things to cover this month to get prepared for next month's convention. So first thing I would like to do is talk about the minutes because, thank you, Lee.
Do attendance.
We'll do that too. Hold on. A lot of stuff going on in my brain. So first of all, this meeting is being recorded. So we want to make sure that you all are informed of that. So anything you say in this meeting will be recorded and will be displayed on our YouTube channel. So this will be a public facing recording. So I want to make sure that everyone's aware that you all being recorded so there can't be any discussion or discrepancy about things that are put out there over the airways and social media. All right. So that's the disclaimer. Next thing we want to do is take attendance. So Mr. Lee Tucker, if you can take the mic around, I'm going to state my name is Janae Miller, president.
Lee Tucker, treasurer.
Ed Snively.
He's the secretary.
Yeah, give that to Mike. He gave me some ones.
Your name.
Oh, Carol Riddle.
Mike Russell.
Ada Meyer. Mary Lynn Pifo. Russell. Julie Russell.
There we go.
Erwin Hott.
Angela Brown. And welcome, Angela.
Welcome,
your
Angela.
first
Thank you,
meeting.
Angela. Welcome to Angela. Let's applaud her, everyone.
She is a guest.
Mary Carabinus. Melody Holloway.
And in Zoom we have.
All right. In Zoom, we have me, Larry, and Nikki Hansen. A phone number that I forgot to ask that ends in 2689. If you could unmute and let me know who you are, or if somebody recognizes that. Oh, yes,
Shirley
sir.
and Lynn Roberts.
Oh, okay. Give me a
And
second.
by the way, I just want you to know, for the person that's watching on Zoom, you may see us disappear and reappear because something on my phone line is like timing me out every 30 minutes. So if I go away and come back a couple times, you'll know why.
Okay, thanks. Let me see. Let's see. So we've got, I'll have to start over again because it moved. So Hanson's, Shirley and Lynn, Troy Sullivan, Margot Muse, Catherine Bister, Denise Bauman, and Dustin Grandstaff, and Michelle Spillane, and Vicky Prayan. So that is who is on Zoom at the moment. And if
And
people
you said
come in, I will.
me. What's your name, me?
Sean Thiel, sorry.
Okay.
I will try.
I'm
If
like,
people,
he said me. I'm like, who's a me?
Yeah. If people come in on Zoom, I will try to make people aware at an appropriate pause. So I won't.
That's fine.
I'll try not to interrupt.
That's
but-
fine. Thank you.
I will do that.
All right. Thank you again. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for for doing attendance. So now if we can, let's discuss the minutes. So there were some
Yes,
adjustments.
it is on Zoom.
Okay.
There were some adjustments to the minutes. One small adjustment, I believe it was, was it Mary Carabinos was, I think you had it in the meeting, in the minutes from last meeting where you had stated that it looked like you were asking something about PHP and you were actually asking for an application for someone who wanted help through the PHP program. Is that correct?
Janine, that was Mary Highland.
Mary Highland. Okay. 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 Thank you.
Well, and actually,
That's
Her
one
name needs-
adjustments to the minutes, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the adjustment because Mary Highland emailed me and stated that she noticed that was written down the way it was in the meetings in the minutes for last month's meeting. And she wanted to make sure that was properly corrected, that she.
Can you clarify what you're talking about?
Okay, so Mary Highland, I guess apparently was inquiring some things regarding PHP, and she wanted to clarify that last meeting she was inquiring about PHP because she wanted an application for someone who was possibly looking to apply for support through the PHP program.
the minutes at this point look as though she is requesting assistance.
Right. It looked
And
as
that
though
is not
she
the
is
case.
requesting, it's not correct. She was not requesting assistance. She was requesting application. Okay,
Yeah, and the name should be removed entirely from the minutes, and that would be the September minutes, right?
yes, in the September minutes.
No, that's October, I'm sorry.
Correct, for
Correct.
September. Correct. Correct. And Sean, you were saying we need to also go through the August minutes. I don't have those in front of me at the moment.
I can get to them. I can read them if people really want me to read them. If I can.
Because
find them again.
I remember last meeting, we did not get those because they
Yeah.
were,
Yes, yeah, that was a failure on my part. Because of a glitch on Ed's computer, he just doesn't like to send it to the members list. Right, and that's not actually fixable with the current email program. So what I have been doing is just been sending it out to the chapter members, and I forgot. So it went out to the chapter members on Sunday, the 10th, from into the members account. So they did
I
come out.
did.
And there is an adjustment, or at least I would say there's an adjustment to those minutes. If you want, I can read them.
could you please?
Okay.
Thank you.
It's going to take a while. Hang on. Decided to hit the floor. All right.
Yes, these are August minutes, Ed. Yes, sir.
August minutes, yeah. President Janae Miller called the meeting of the Columbus chapter of the ACB to order Saturday, August 12th, 2023. Members tuning in on Zoom include Catherine Vista, Nikki and Larry Hanson, Katie Frederick, Vicki Prayan, and Shirley and Lynn Roberts. In-person members included Gail Baldwin, Melody Holloway, Gail Horton, Erwin Hott, Mary Carabinas, Juanita Marr, Janae Miller, Marco Muse, Mary Lynn Pifo, Edward Snively, Troy Sullivan, Sean Thiel, and Lee Tucker, and Kathy Withman. Janae Miller asked if there are any questions or corrections to be made to the June 2023 minutes. None were mentioned. Then Gail Baldwin moved that our members approve the June 2023 minutes, and Lee Tucker seconded. Motion was approved. Lee Tucker presented the treasurer's report that covered the period from July 8th, 2023 to August 11th, 2023. The ending balance in the checking account totaled $21,869.67. There was a decrease of $722.11. With the group's permission, it is out there published on an email. I'd like to skip over the rest of the financial report, but only if the group approves.
That the group approved that he not read the financials from August?
That's fine with me.
That's-
I assume there are no corrections for that. vote?
There are no questions made at the time.
Okay, so if there's no corrections and the group is okay with that, let's move on to the rest of the minutes.
And Vicki made a motion, Vicki Prayan made a motion to approve the treasurer's report, and Gail Horton seconded. Motion was approved. Catherine Vista discussed the Fall Fest, which is similar to the ACB Winter Sports Retreat. The Fall Fest was held on, there's an error there. It says the Fund Fest rather than the Fall Fest in that paragraph. Will be held on the weekend, September 29th, 2023 in Worcester, Ohio. There is a Best Western Hotel, which is only 2 blocks away from the downtown area. Best Western guests who want to secure 2 nights of lodging will pay $250. Registration is online. Katie Frederick made a motion that our chapter provide 1,000 to cover the cost of 4 persons. They actually should, well, anyway, will be staying at the Best Western Hotel for 2 nights, and Edward Snively seconded. The motion was approved. Another amendment, since I actually listened to what happened, what the motion she made, it's 4 rooms, and the rooms were to be occupied by chapter members or blind or visually impaired members of the Central Ohio area. Lee Tucker presented the People Helping People report. One request was approved. It involves the purchase of an iPhone 14 plus 128 gigabytes. The amount of the approval was $489.66. Nikki Hansen presented the Sunshine Committee report. He reported that Troy had an emergency treatment for an infected tooth and a bone graft. Lynn Roberts is recovering from cataract surgery. Melody Holloway was at Riverside Hospital on an outpatient basis for a gastroinfection.
Oh, August report. Okay.
Mike Russell was hit by a car in the church parking lot just before the meeting started. Fortunately, he remained conscious, and he is still conscious today, I'd like to say.
Welcome back to Mike.
That
Yay.
Katie Frederick gave the ACB Ohio report. She mentions that persons who want to submit articles for the next Ohio Connection need to submit them by August 16th, 2023. People interested in contributing to selecting ACBO awards and scholarship winners need to have their selections in by September 15th, 2023.
Real quick, the newsletter deadline is the 15th, not the 16th. So that is also a correction that should be made.
Let's see. Well, repeating, I think the at-large membership call will be held on Sunday, August 13th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. The state convention will be held at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Worthington from November 10th to 12th, 2023. It was, my staple is on top of a couple of words here, so I don't see what it is. Mentioned that 32 people attended the last get-together last month at Matsey's Pizza. It was a good time. Participants applauded the Matsey's staff for providing us with wonderful service. Katie mentioned that the CPR class was held prior to our ACB meeting. There was a great instructor. There was discussion about the SP offices and first aid. People applauded Denise for organizing this event. Jermaine reminded everyone that elections will be coming up for the offices of vice president, treasurer, and 3 board members. A nominating committee will need to be created in September. Janae Miller and Catherine Bister are working together to create some social media for our chapter. There is now a Facebook page. Janae and Catherine are seeking feedback. Mary Lynn announced that she is holding a Tupperware party on August 19th, 2023 at the Rusty Bucket from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Reservations must be made by August 14th, 2023. Orin made a motion to adjourn our business meeting and Troy seconded. Motion was approved. Now that's the official end of the amendments. There's also a description of what the speaker said. Do I have permission from the group to skip over that?
Is everyone okay with him skipping over the description about the speaker? Okay, yes, you can
Yes,
continue.
that's fine. Katie Frederick has joined on Zoom as well.
Thank you.
We go back to the CPRs.
Yes, the CPR, where is that? Yeah, Katie mentioned, yes. Katie mentioned that the CPR class was held prior to the ACB meeting. There was a great instructor. There was a discussion about the SP offices and first aid. Is that the question?
I see that.
What should that have been? But a discussion of what?
Yeah, I'm just reading what. SP.
I see.
What should the SP have been?
Yeah,
Who knows? Yeah.
do you need clarification on that, Ed? Is that what you're requesting? Could, hold on one second. Can Katie, if you are hearing us, we are reviewing the August minutes because last month people did not get to read those. And so we're reviewing those. If you could clarify your statement about the CPR and the SP.
I don't know what the statement is I'm trying to clarify.
Yes, it's,
This is referring to the CPR class when you were giving your report on the class and how good it was and what was discussed at the August meeting. So we're looking at the August minutes.
In the minutes, it says SP offices, and we're trying to figure out
What does SP
what
stand
that
for?
should be.
Yeah.
Maybe the school where it was. I have no idea. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
looks like a missing.
Yeah. Let's just take it out.
Just take that out.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any more to the minutes, Lee, for August?
No.
Okay. Any questions regarding the minutes that was read for August or September? Any discussion about the meeting minutes that was read for August or September? Hold on, we'll get the mic around to you.
The financial report, so you didn't go over that for August, September, yes.
I'll be doing the
Well,
September.
She'll be- Right,
Okay,
Yeah, that's the next item on the
next
agenda.
item, would someone like to please make a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Sean, I motion that move the minutes be approved.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
As corrected.
Nikki.
So hold on, Sean moved, who seconded it?
Nikki,
And the wording, I guess I should have used is that approved pending the corrections that we've talked about today.
Okay, and we got down who seconded it already?
yeah,
Nikki, I believe.
Nikki,
Yeah.
okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Any nays? Okay, the motion has been approved and the meetings have been approved with corrections. Now would like to move on to the treasurer's report by Ms.
September minutes.
September minutes. Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you. September minutes. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
So those did go out by email on October 9th to the members group.
Okay, is there any, first of all, did everyone get to read the September minutes? Because I made sure that we
Yes.
got those out. Are there any questions, corrections, discussions regarding the September meeting minutes?
The only thing is the clarification about Mary requesting the application that we mentioned earlier. We want to make sure that gets fixed.
Correct.
Other
Anything
than
else
that-
other
than
than
that, I don't have anything.
anyone else? Anybody on Zoom have any questions, corrections? Other than what was stated by Mary Highland?
I'll be making one. For most current.
Okay. Would someone please make a motion if there's no corrections or questions or discussion? Would someone like to please make a motion to approve the September meeting minutes with corrections?
Lee Tucker, I make motion to approve the September minutes with corrections.
Is there a second? Erwin Hod is seconding it. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
Are there any nays? All right, the minutes have been approved with correction. Okay, now we will have the current treasurer's report.
So this is the treasurer's report for the chapter for the period of September 9th, 2023 to October 13th, 2023. Checking account ending balance is $19,557.62. a decrease of $2,067.92. Deposits are dues, which are starting to come in, that time is upon us, $65.19. And the network for good for $19. Expenses, we transferred $1,000 to the PHP fund. And a donation was made to Pilot Dogs for the O&M program for $1,000. And United States Post Office, we bought stamps for the membership drive, $66. And AT&T, the ever-present AT&T bill, $16.11. One check remains outstanding for $35 and 2 outstanding checks for cash for $70. People Helping People program, ending balance $2,745.60, and thus an increase of $1,000. And of course, that was the transfer we made to that account. Savings account, 4 times a year, we get our 16 cents or 15 cents for the savings account, bringing our balance up to $6,243.85. Oh boy, anyway, we're getting rich. Columbus Foundation, estimated market value of October 13th, $84,646.83. A loss since December 31st of $4,639.34. Spring grant from the Columbus Foundation. I'm going to skip over those 2 numbers to the total of the grants from the Columbus Foundation, which is $6,400.11. $6,411.50. And for comparison purposes, the total deposits in the chapter checking account from last year is $7,540.57. And year-to-date payout for the engagement benefit is $430. And there are 2 notes for the financial statement. One is the chapter has been approved for a credit card. The reason I, as treasurer, asked for that is that fraudulent transactions are more easily corrected using a credit card rather than a debit card. And I know some people recently who fell into some kind of thing where their checking account was rated to a debit card, and that's what motivated me to do this. Now, I don't know how long we'll keep that credit card because they said they made a special exception for us. So it may be we won't have enough activity, but we'll have to see. The second thing is Janae and I went to the Huntington National Bank office again to update our records, this time to show that the Columbus chapter is a corporation rather than an association. And our documents have shown that we are Inc. since 1980. So I have no idea where HNB got that. So, and that concludes the treasurer's report.
Any questions for Lee regarding the treasurer's report?
Engagement report. And the other is the AT&T conference donation. What does that mean?
Let's see. Engagement thing is, remember how maybe you haven't been here since I walk around giving people $10. That's that thing. Okay. And the AT&T bill is that's the 614-470-2226 telephone line. And $16.11 is the cost every month.
Donation.
Well, that's because my lips don't work very well.
Mhm, 'cause at the end of-
Mary, I think you may be thinking of the previous report that mentioned the reimbursement that the Columbus chapter did for the administrative fee for the national convention. I think that's what you're thinking of. That was on the August report, and that's what that item refers to.
Yeah, I mean, we paid for either 12 or 13 basic registrations of $35. And so far, everybody but one person who is physically in this room have cashed their checks. So,
Well,
It's in my receipt, but I was getting a certain person's email wrong. So
said it again.
Any
please
other
cash checks,
questions?
people, if you have checks that you haven't, please cash them. It's a real pain for people dealing with that. I remember from when I was in my previous position. So please try and cash those.
And if you need help cashing the check, let somebody know. Don't just spend, because, after a while, those checks are void after 90 days. If you're having trouble, please speak up. It's okay to say you need some help.
And I could pay you on PayPal or Zelle if I know to do that.
Any other concerns, questions, or comments regarding the treasurer's report? Would someone like to please make a motion? If no one has any other questions, comments, or discussions regarding the treasurer report, would someone like to please make a motion to approve the treasurer's report, please?
I will, Erwin.
Erwin is making a motion. Would someone please like to second it? Edward Snidely is seconding it, if I can talk correctly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
If there's any nays, okay, the treasurer's report has been approved with discussion and corrections. Okay, now we would like to have some discussion regarding the PHP report. Is there any news regarding the PHP program?
Okay, there is one person, and we're playing phone tag right now, who wants to learn about what devices are covered and who's eligible and that kind of thing. So we should be able to report on that next time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sunshine report.
Yes. As you know, Tori had a colonoscopy recently and is waiting for additional test results. But so far, the tests that have come back have been good and the procedure went well. And we do hope everything goes well with him. And also, good sunshine report. Ohio State 20, Purdue, nothing.
Yay! OH! OH!
Oh.
Okay. All right. Next, I would like to have a report from ACB Ohio. Any news about the convention, things of that sort from ACB Ohio? No news from
So
ACB
whoever
Ohio?
wants, whichever, we've got several people that
So it could be
could do
Vicky,
that, whoever
Sean, or
would like to.
Katie. Anybody want to talk about the convention coming up? Give us any updates, news, get us excited?
Not me.
I'll say we have
Well-
about 40 people registered so far.
40 people so far? Okay. You should
And
hopefully.
I was waiting for Katie, so she's must be on another call or something.
Go ahead, Vicky.
So I wanted to ask Michelle exactly the question she's already answered, because she reads my mind sometimes these days, which is a little scary. But we are looking forward to the convention. It's all scheduled. But I think another thing that needs to be mentioned, some people already know this, but we weren't quite ready to announce it last time, but Michelle is now our actual executive director, not interim, but full-time on the spot, doing her thing every day.
Yay!
So that's big news. And she'll be she's coming into this just in time for convention season. We are looking for if anyone has auction items or door prizes that they'd like to contribute. Registration will close on the 19th of October, as will the reservation period at the hotel. So if you haven't registered, haven't made your reservations, you need to do that. And if you need any help, Michelle's in the office. I'm here. Katie's sometimes here, but this is October, so she's out of town a good bit. So one of us can help with that. The
Absolutely. Just call the office. Call the
registration
office and
is
I'll set you up.
It's easy. It's really easy this year, which is great.
Remember, if you're a JAWS user, you need auto forms mode on.
No, you don't, Sean.
Yes,
All
you
have
do.
to- No, you don't. I've already registered. Never mind. We're not going to argue about it here on the
Fair
air.
enough.
Whatever.
Okay, so hold on. Go ahead,
The
keep going, Vicky.
convention stuff, we have some really cool exhibitors coming, some new people this year. The local representative of Polera, who is from the company, oh gosh, what is that? Baldwin and Sowers will be there to talk about accessible audible signals. And we have a guy who is a representative of the company that's created OKO, which is this fabulous phone app which will help identify and guide you through traffic signals, even if there is no audible signal. It sounds really cool. So those guys will be there, and some familiar folks, Hymns and Voice Corps, and Tracy from the State Library. So definitely hit the exhibit hall, and there are some special events for those of you who. Oh, okay. Well, Katie's traveling and can't TLK, so that was a funny message.
That was.
So, if you missed the CPR class that we had here in Columbus, when was that? August?
August, yep.
You can take a CPR class on Friday evening of the convention, and that it will cost only $10. You will get your full certification from that. They'll have plenty of folks there to make sure everybody knows what's going on and how to do everything that has to happen. And then on Saturday morning, something different is occurring. There is a thing I had not heard of before. I think we talked about this a little bit last time, called an escape room, which is essentially a room you go into and you solve puzzles. This one deals with U.S. history. So I understand there's a room where you focus on post-Civil War stuff. There's a room that deals with the Titanic. Another one that has something to do with one of the world wars. I have not been there, so I don't know more specifics than that, but it sounds like a lot of fun and something really different. So you might think about doing that. And of course, we also have the other workshops. Some of the folks we all know and love will be helping out with those. Catherine's doing a workshop on Saturday afternoon on what's the word I'm trying to think of, on adjusting to
Coping with change, I think.
life change. There it is. I knew somebody somebody knew the word. So that should be really good, and we'll have some daily living skills presentation. We'll have a presentation on 3D printing, which is absolutely fascinating stuff. So check it out and think about coming. And since this is local, if you prefer to do transportation to and from the hotel each day, that is an option. Sunday morning is another special thing. We will have Jack and Jill Fox. Many of you who have listened to Talking Books for years know them. Many of you may have heard of them, may have heard them speak at other conventions. My articulation is really faulty today. But they will be there in person Sunday morning, and they'll talk about their stuff and also do some Q&A. So lots of exciting stuff coming up.
Sometimes you also hear Jack Fox talking about the moving sidewalk is ending now at some airports.
Oh, yeah.
So he's all over the place there.
He's everywhere. And he has that wonderful voice. Oh my gosh. He'd be so good on the radio. I wonder if he's done radio. We'll have to ask him. So that's all I know about the moment, I think. Michelle, am I forgetting anything?
Oh,
There's,
video games on
Yeah,
Friday
I was
evening.
gonna say that, exactly.
What were you saying, Sean?
Oh, Michelle and I were saying the same thing.
Oh,
essentially.
okay, go ahead. Either one, doesn't matter.
There's a video games workshop on Friday evening, and I think they're going to actually have demonstrations and things you can try. So, the other thing is, because of some of the nature of things like the video game workshop, the independent living skills, because I think Megan's going to have some demonstrations, and the CPR, there will not be as much Zoomed, because those don't really, and the 3D printing workshop, those don't lend themselves to Zoom. So you can attend virtually, but you will get a little bit less than in the past, since some of those sessions are really suited more to in-person. $40
Very
for that.
hands-on.
Yeah, $40 for that, $80 for in-person registration. Unless you want the escape room or the CPR. So that's what the form does, is you tell it what you want, and then it calculates it up for the math challenged among us, which I definitely count myself in that group. So that's just something else to be aware of. And Katie has posed a question.
Mary?
Okay, hold on. We have a question in the room, and then Katie has a question.
Okay, suppose you had a donation for the auction. Is there some place on the application to indicate that, or are you supposed to just call Michelle?
There is not on the application, but you can call me or email Lynn, either way. But yeah, just call me, email, whatever.
What's the last date for donations?
October 19th.
Thank you.
Is that also the last day for auction items as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything. We decided to make it really
Simplified it.
simple this year. Everything is due in by October 19th. That way nobody gets confused with different dates for this and different dates for that, And it gives us plenty of time to put together things and braille and print programs where necessary, and auction lists. So it should work out a lot more smoothly, we hope.
Okay, and I think, Sean, did you say Katie put something in?
Yes, Katie put something in the chat and asks, has the chapter discussed financial assistance for the convention?
That was going to be the next thing on my list. So, Mr. Tucker, I think has some information regarding that based on his discussion, I believe.
I do?
Yeah. Did you forget, or am I? Okay.
I'm not sure he had raised it. Why don't you fill me in, so I didn't know what it said?
So remember we were talking about Fall Fest and the convention and supporting people who need to maybe get to the convention. Remember that whole thing?
Okay. We could choose to do a number of things, I suppose. I mean, there's the hotel rooms there. There's what usually we've done is doing it all $20 for 10 door prizes each to the state convention. Yeah, that's a regular thing that we have done. But if someone too close now, all right. We have the money to do some support for hotel rooms, but I'm not sure we've done any organization towards that.
So
Michelle, anyway, that's something we'd have to figure out.
So since Lee's saying that, as a group, let's talk about, what's people's thoughts on supporting hotel rooms for people or putting money towards the auction. I want to hear people's thoughts regarding that for the convention, based on Katie's question.
Just curious to know what the history is supporting that request at past state conventions.
Yeah, but I don't remember anything in my history, which is very short. I mean, certainly not hotel rooms, but for the sign-up fee, that's a smaller number. We didn't do that either, but that would be new.
Sean or Vicky, past president, can you share some of your knowledge on what has the chapter done to support those with getting to the convention or providing support to the convention, whether it's the auction or hotel or registration?
A million years or so ago, maybe like 35-ish or 40 years ago, somewhere back in there, I recall that for a time, like maybe 2 or 3 years, we did offer I don't know what you'd call it, like a stipend for people who attended the state convention. If you attended and wanted it, you received, I believe at that time it was $300, and you could then put that towards registration, towards the hotel and that kind of thing. Well, towards your bills for those, because you had to attend first. You didn't get that up front because, hey, I could give you $300 and then you go off into the sunset. But that was something we did for a short time. I know the Cincinnati chapter did that for a longer time. I don't know how much they approved for that.
When I was running their meetings, they would pay the $80 if it was somebody's first time or had never been to one before and maybe couldn't afford it. So they had a first timer stipend similar to what National has.
So in light of what you all have heard, does anybody else have any thoughts or suggestions around how this chapter can?
Catherine's hand is raised.
Okay, go ahead,
Zoom.
Catherine.
Hi. So on the website for the registration for the state convention, there is also a new this year. We're looking for the convention organizers are looking for donations and sponsorships from individuals. So if this chapter had difficulty like deciding, exactly how to place money, that's one idea, is just do a general contribution to the state convention for its operating costs.
I like that idea, actually. I really do. I think that's a good way to go.
And it's something that's already in place.
Yeah, I like that idea, actually.
It's Irwin, and we have, as was mentioned earlier, the last several years made donations for basically for the drawings for $10 in cash. I think we've done the last several years, $10 cash donations for the raffle. And I would suggest we do that again this year.
So we have two main suggestions out here. Anybody else have any thoughts? And so anybody have any thoughts based on what Catherine has shared and what Irwin has proposed? Because I like both ideas, actually. I really do.
Yes, Treasurer, I like both too. I'm not familiar with that part of the website, so I need somebody else to frame the motion. And I would suggest $1,000 contribution. Would that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Could I insert something here?
Sure.
What Catherine's talking about on the registration form itself, one can opt to put in an individual donation, $10 or $100 or whatever you're comfortable with. For the chapter, what I can do is send the sponsorship flyer. I can send that to Janae and Lee to look at, and we do have various if you want to be a sponsor,
Sponsorship levels.
Thank you. My tongue is really tangly. I don't know. And Lee mentioned $1,000. That gives you the double diamond option, which also means if somebody wants to talk about the Columbus chapter at some point, you have that as a possibility. So
I really like that idea. I actually want to see that form, but I actually myself would like to make a motion for that because I really like that idea of the chapter being a
So-
big sponsor.
So Vicky, as you're familiar with that, could you frame the motion for us, please?
Yes, could you
But
please?
if we've reached that point,
All right, so as I understand it, we would like to make motion that the chapter sponsor the state convention at $1,000, which is the double diamond, I believe, level. And then also provide door prize monies for throughout the auction. Is that
And-
correctly?
yeah, 10,
Would those be two
$20
separate motions though?
Separate motions, yes.
Yeah.
Two separate motions. So let's take the first motion. So Vicky has made a motion that the Columbus ACB Ohio Columbus chapter donate $1,000 and be a double diamond sponsor for the Ohio Indiana 2023 convention. So Vicky has made that motion.
That was much better.
Vicky has made that motion, and I would like to second the motion because I really like the motion. I don't know.
I can second it as treasurer. Oh, Erwin has second.
Erwin is second. Okay, I didn't know if I could or couldn't. I couldn't remember. I don't know.
Could you clarify this?
So
$1,000
so
or is it because
So I'm going to repeat it for you. So Vicky Prahan has made a motion that the Columbus, Ohio chapter be a double diamond sponsor for the Ohio, Indiana 2023 convention. And the motion is for us to donate $1,000 in sponsorship for the convention. That's the motion. Vicky?
the form for registering for the convention, you had
There's a sponsorship form.
participants indicated that if you were interested in making a contribution to whatever, different things listed, you could do that. So what we are getting into now, it's saying that our chapter is donating this money, but not that people would not be paying $1,000 or a group.
No, this is correct. This is coming from the chapter's budget, not, so on the form, if you as an individual on your own want to donate $10 or $20, you can. We as the chapter are going to be a sponsor for in support of the operation of this convention. That's
So
what the
in-
motion's for.
So in the same way that, for example, Vanda or a corporation would sponsor the convention, that is a separate flyer that we provide to those interested parties. And so it's going to be a sponsorship as if, as a company would do. Because the chapter is an incorporation, as Lee was talking about earlier. So it is a corporate sponsorship is kind of the easiest way to understand it. Does that help?
Okay, thank you, Sean, for the clarity. So going back, Vicky has made a motion and we're not sure if the president can make a second, but Erwin has seconded that motion.
Yes, and we've been having discussion.
We've been having discussion around us being a corporate sponsor for the convention. Is there any other, before we go forward and vote, is there any other thoughts before I ask for all those in favor? Hearing nothing, all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, the motion for us to be a corporate sponsor has been approved.
Okay, the second item is the cash prizes, cash door prizes for the convention. In the past, we've contributed $200 in cash as $10, $20 bills for that. So I'm suggesting that we do that again.
Any,
I
dis-
second.
okay, so Lee's making a motion for that. Is that, am I correctly?
Yes.
So Lee has made a motion that we also will provide $200 of monies for is it for the raffle for all the
No, for door prize.
for door prizes. I'm sorry. I was thinking door prize, but said raffle for the door prizes. And so Lee has made that motion. Sean Field has seconded it. If there's no other concerns, all in favor, please say aye.
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 If there's are there any nays? So again, that motion has been approved for us to give $200 for door prizes for the Ohio, Indiana Convention. At this time, before I move on to the next order of business, Michelle, would you like to say anything now? You are the official executive director for ACB Ohio.
Just thank you for this awesome opportunity. And if you have any suggestions or ideas, just feel free to reach out through email or call me.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, next on the list of business we need to discuss is nominations for positions of vice president, treasurer, and the 3 board positions that are up for elections for next month. And I believe, Melanie, are you going to be reading the nomination list and giving the report for the nomination committee?
Give me a second here.
Okay, take your time.
If you don't have it, I also have it.
Okay, the positions open this year are officers and directors. Damn it. Vice President Dustin Grandstaff and Treasurer Lee Tucker. And Directors Mary Carabinos, Catherine Bister, and Nikki Hansen. Dustin does not want to run again, and we are proposing Mary Carabinos for the position of Vice President. Lee Tucker will run 1 more term for Treasurer. Nikki wants to run again, but Catherine has other obligations and does not. We recommend Margot Muse and Troy Sullivan to run for the positions currently held by Mary and Catherine. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie, for reading and doing the nomination committee report. Are there any questions for the nomination committee? No questions for the nomination committee? Now, this is new for me, being president. So when the nomination committee does that, do we do a motion for this as well? I'm asking because this is new. So if Sean or Vicky, can you answer that question for me?
You know, I'm not sure if the group has to approve the slate. I somehow don't think so.
Don't
No.
think so either.
I don't think at this meeting. I think at the next meeting, though, before we actually vote,
Okay.
is what I seem to recall.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure this is a new one for me. I want to make sure I'm doing this properly. Okay, so at the next meeting. Well, thank you again, Melanie, for reading that. So next, is there any old business or old news we should be looking at? And if not, is there any new things we need to tackle?
Old business very swiftly. Is the Christmas dinner will be coming up. At the moment, there's nothing to report unless Dustin wants to spring in and say that there is. Let's see, but in the meeting in November, we will, that's when we'll, at that meeting, we'll discuss how to sign up for it. We have a limit of 50 people. That's what although our contract says 60, which is kind of curious. And last chapter meeting, we covered what the menu will be. Yeah. That would be that. And I think also that the Christmas dinner is open to chapter members for blind or visually impaired residents of Central Ohio plus companions.
Yes, and just a FYI, and you also get an email, because of the convention, our November meeting will be Saturday, November the 4th, same time, same location, but just a slightly different Saturday.
And the church has been checked out on that. So
yes,
so that's open.
Yes, so we'll be here again on November the 4th, which is a first Saturday in November.
New business?
Any new business?
Yeah, briefly, the membership drive starts in a couple of weeks. I will be mailing out all the forms, and as a little addendum, is the form is two-sided, not that most of us can actually see what's on the form anyway. And if you can pay to the chapter either by check or by PayPal or by Zelle.
Denise speaking, new business. I'll be researching the possibility of a first aid class offered by the same group that provided the CPR class in February. Probably ask them if the 3rd or the 17th are open, and probably speak to the treasurer during the new year about some financial support for those who want to participate. Well, the whole group, speak to the whole group.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please keep us posted regarding that, Denise. Thank you.
Yep.
Catherine Bister's hand is raised in Zoom.
Catherine?
Hi, old business. We did have Fall Fest the last weekend in September, and I want to sincerely thank this chapter for an extremely generous donation of $1,000 towards that event. We had 20-ish people involved, 17, 18 of whom were visually impaired, several guide dogs. People seemed to think it was a pretty good success. And it's, even if people didn't go, just knowing that there's that support available is extremely meaningful. And I just really appreciate this chapter and how it continues to support us in lots of different ways. So thanks.
You're welcome.
And Michelle, I'm expecting an invoice anytime for that $1,000.
I need to do what now?
Well, I haven't.
Well,
seen
I'll talk to
$1,000
Michelle
because-
about that. Yeah, well, Michelle, I'll talk to you about that, how we want to handle that.
Gotcha.
Okay. Okay, hold on.
Okay, I was just in a meeting before this one, and there is a couple that were really big on self-defense. And I asked them if they would maybe come to a meeting or something and help us out decide how to keep us safe as visually impaired persons. And they said they could do that. I have a business card, so I just thought I'd bring that up for a possibility.
Okay, that's something we can discuss in the future. Thank you. Any other new or old business?
Someone.
Anybody have the update on the score of the game?
20-0 at half. Still 20-0 at half.
20-0 at the half?
Yes,
All right.
Yes.
OH.
I am.
OH.
I am.
Okay. So if there's no other pressing business that we need to attend to, I would like to say those who can and are able, we are going to be going over to the Old Bag of Nails, which is on Broad and North Nelson in the Bexley area after the meeting, after our speaker. So wanted to put that out there. We have another announcement. Go ahead.
I was just mentioning beforehand that I have a user ride set up to go to the Old Bag of Nails, and I asked for an additional person. So if anybody needs a ride, they can go with me. Sorry, my voice is so froggy.
Thank you.
Just as a count, but if people could raise their hands if you know you're going.
Okay. And if there's if there's no other business we need to discuss, would someone like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
Sean, I so move.
Sean shall move. Is there a second?
Denise Bauman, second.
Denise seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Denise, when you're ready, well, first let Lee do the engagement benefit, and then Denise, you can introduce our wonderful speaker.
Yeah.
Is our speaker in person?
Is our speaker
Has
here?
our speaker arrived?
Do not. Oh, she is here.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay.
So let Lee do the engagement benefit, and then Lee, let her know when you're finished so we can have her introduce the speaker.
So we had to vote. November.
Yeah.
Denise, you can introduce the speaker now.
Okay, excellent. Hi, Bridget. Bridget, did you bring someone else with you today?
No, she's not with me.
Okay, thanks. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Bridget McDaniel. I'm assuming most of you remember her. She has faithfully spoken about all things pertaining to elections, the upcoming election for some time now. I remember her coming as far back as 2020 and continuing on. So Bridget is a very, very active representative of the League of Women Voters. And we appreciate you coming and educating us again today, Bridget. Thank you.
Lee, can you give Bridget the mic?
I have a mic.
Okay, thank you, Bridget. Go ahead.
Is it working? Hold it close. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. I'm happy to be here, and it has been since 2020 that I've been coming to talk for the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters is actually 103 years old. We are a nonpartisan organization. The only partisanship we have is that we want everyone to vote. We work very hard to register voters and to encourage voters of either party or no party to go and vote. We never take an issue on a political candidate. We sometimes take issue on different legislation that's out there, but never on a political candidate. You would all be welcome to join our organization. We did open it up to both men and women a few years back. We didn't change our name because we were so well known as the League of Women Voters. We are an outgrowth of the suffragist movement. And actually, we started 103 years ago, right after the amendment allowing women to vote was passed. Okay, we're going to talk about the how to vote and what to vote for. And unfortunately, I have been coming since 2020. Actually, the first 2 years we did it just on Zoom because we were in the height of the pandemic. And every time I come, there's something new about voting. Not in a good sense, in our opinion, as the League. I find it very interesting. The highest we have ever had vote in an election was in 2020. We only had 66% of our citizens in this country that are eligible to vote registered to vote. And of that 66%, only 66% voted, which comes out to 44% participated. And yet every year, more and more restrictions are passed by state legislatures trying to make it more difficult to actually go vote. It happened again in Ohio. At the end of 2020, the Ohio General Assembly passed some significant changes to the state elections law. These particularly impacted the kind of identification you need to register to vote and to actually vote. And it also shortened the early voting period. I'm not going to tell you what used to be, because I think that gets confusing. If I said, tell you, you could use this, but now you can't. I'm just going to tell you where we are now because it is the law. First of all, voter registration for this November election, which occurs on November 7th, is closed. It ended last week. So if you're not registered, you can't vote in November. But if you're not registered, go ahead and register anyways while you're thinking about it. You know, if you wait, we have a kind of a big year coming next year. It's going to be a presidential election. We'll have an early primary. So if you're not registered, please just go ahead and register. The acceptable identification now to register includes an Ohio driver's license or a state ID card issued by the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Those are issued free. They must be not out of date. Although if you have an ID card that has a different address, that's okay, just so it's not out of date. You can register to vote online if you have either one of those items, and you have to have your social security number. You can register on paper, and you can have someone assist you with that, and you can mail it in. The registration deadline is almost a month before any election. So like I said, if you're not going to make this election, please just go home, think about it, and do it right now. Don't wait till March and say, oops, you know, it's easy to miss all these deadlines, especially when they change them frequently. We do suggest that if you are registered, you still check your registration. If you go on the website, vote411.org, you can check to see your registration, if it's up to date, still usable, and if your address and everything is up to date. Now, if you've changed your name, or your address has changed, doesn't mean you can't vote. You can't change it in time for this election, but you can go and vote at your new location or with your new name. You just have to vote provisionally till you prove to them why you changed your name or where your address is. You can also call the Board of Elections, and their number in Franklin County, do we have different counties here? Everybody in Franklin? Okay. In Franklin County, the number is 614-525-3100. So once you have checked to make sure you can vote, that your registration is up to date and you can vote, you have to decide how to vote. Been some changes on that as well. you still have three options for voting. You can vote by mail, absentee. You can vote in person early, and you can vote on election day. And the League of Women Voters encourages everyone to vote early. When you think about it, election day is the 7th of November. Who knows what's going to happen that day? You could get up and not feel good. We could have a snowstorm. You could forget about it. So we encourage everyone to vote early. There's a lot of advantages to voting early. To vote mail in, you can request your ballot starting now. Actually started earlier this week. In fact, I sent my request in, I think on Tuesday. There was no mail on Monday. Oh, congratulations. You're ahead of me, darn it.
Lee's
I always
got his
try to
ballot
be the
already.
first one on the block. You can print off a form from the Secretary of State's website. There's a form that requests that you receive an absentee ballot. You have to do that every time you vote absentee or mail in. It does, you can't designate it for the rest of your life or the next 5 elections or anything. There is a specific form that you can request from the Secretary of State's website that lets you request an accessible ballot with a remote marking system. Does anyone in here use that? Okay, well, it's yes.
Not
Okay.
recently, but a couple
Okay,
years
there
ago.
is a system where you can do that as opposed to doing it by paper, although you can have assistance to do it by paper. When you send in this form, either form, to ask for an absentee ballot, you will need your state ID number or your driver's license number or the last 4 digits of your social security card. Nowadays, a passport or a military ID is also accepted. Anything with a picture, official government. Yes. Passport is now accepted. If you are going to request an absentee ballot and use a passport for your identification, you do have to send a copy of that in with the page that has your picture and your social security and all that on it. If you're just using your state ID, or your social security, you just write the numbers in because they already have you in the system. So you request an absentee ballot, and technically you can request an absentee ballot anytime up till, I think it's October 31st this year, which is like a week before the election. Please don't wait that long. You will never get it done in time. I sent my request in on Tuesday. I just yesterday, Friday, got notified that they'd received it and they're going to send me a ballot. So it takes time, and it'll take a couple of days for the ballot to come. Then I got to get the ballot back. So if you're thinking of doing it by the mail, do it as soon as you can think about it. I find it very advantageous, and I always vote by mail. Couple reasons. Number one, I don't have to think about it and schedule out that day. The other thing, it helps me to be able to sit at the kitchen table and look at the ballot and look up candidates and find out information as I go. I don't have to print out a ballot for myself to know who I'm going to vote for or how I'm going to vote. I don't have to get in there that day and think, oh geez, which was the candidate I wanted to support or which issue didn't I like. You have a lot more time to think about it. You need to submit the ballot, your absentee ballot, but it has to be submitted by by November 6th, which is your ballot has to be postmarked by November 6th and received within 4 days of the election, which is November 7th. Again, don't wait. You just can't trust the mail nowadays. It's not too reliable. You can return the absentee ballot in person or have someone return it for you by going out to the Board of Elections at 1700 Morse Road in Franklin County, or to the Board of Elections in whichever county you're voting. Someone can deliver it for you. That person has to be a close relative. That goes out to grandparents, children, stepchildren, step-grandparents. There's a pretty long list. and there's a drop box. You just pull up in front. It looks like a mailbox, although I think it's painted white, and you drop your ballot in. Easiest way to do it. Don't have to worry about postage. It will tell you, it usually will give you an idea of how much postage. I always put one extra stamp on just for good measure. And you can track your absentee ballot. You know, there's been questions, oh, do they get counted? Do they get there? Do they arrive? You can track your absentee ballot if you sign up for that when you request it. You can sign up for Ballot Tracks. It's a great system. They'll send you a text or an email saying, we got your application. We're sending your ballot. We mailed your ballot. We received your ballot. We approved your ballot. So it's makes you feel very comfortable that your vote counts. You can also vote early in person, and that has already started. You have to go out to the Board of Elections in Franklin County at 1700 Morse Road, or whichever Board of Elections, for whichever county you're in. And there are limited hours. They have decreased the number of hours. If you go out to the Board of Elections to vote in person, you can request to vote curbside. All you have to do is tell them you have a disability that makes it not possible for you to go in. There's been some talk about whether sight problems were included in that, and I checked with the Franklin County Board of Elections. They are not allowed to ask you what your disability is. They have to take your word for the fact that you're disabled and can't get in. They do ask, if you're going to come out early and request curbside, to please call them and say, you know, what day's good or what time, you know, kind of work with them so they make sure and have somebody readily available to help you vote in your vehicle. To vote early voting in person, you have to have the same thing you would have to have on election day. And that's a driver's license or state ID issued by Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles. It can't be expired. The address can be wrong, but it can't be expired. You can also use a U.S. passport or card or a military or Veterans Department card. Those are the acceptable identification now. They want something that has a picture on it. Doesn't have to be a good picture, just so it's a picture. So that the early voting has already started, and it's weekdays from 8 to 5. It's the last week before you vote, before the election on the 7th. It has one day that's like 7:30 to 8:30. It's a little longer day. And the last weekend before voting, they do have Saturday hours from 8 to 4 and Sunday hours from 1 to 5. Very confusing. I suggest if you want to go out and vote, call them and ask them, are you open today, or what are your hours tomorrow? They seem to try to make it as convoluted as possible instead of just sticking with regular times and hours. Election day, that's your third option. You can go on election day. Always check to see where you're voting because precincts do change. They change frequently. You're supposed to get a postcard telling you if it changed, but again, you never know about that U.S. mail anymore. You can check where your precinct is by going on vote411.org. You put in your address and it'll tell you where you're voting that day. Again, to vote in person, you can vote curbside. You can have someone take you out, then go in and say, I've got somebody that needs to vote curbside. 2 representatives from the poll workers will come out, 1 from each party. So they, you know, keep each other honest. You have to have a driver's license or a state ID card, military identification, a High National Guard card, which is also a military, or a U.S. passport, none of which can be expired. Okay. Again, I just want to remind you that if you want to vote curbside, you just send somebody in and say, I'm not able to come in. They cannot ask you what your disability is. You can always vote. If you get out there that day and they say something, your address is wrong, your last name has changed because you got married or you got divorced or whatever, you ask for a provisional ballot. A provisional ballot lets you vote on paper. They will tell you what you need for that ballot to be what they call cured, which means settle the issue. Even if you've forgotten your ID, you can ask for a provisional ballot. You will have to get out to the Board of Elections with whatever that change is, whatever you forgot or didn't have correct, within 4 days after the election. They have tightened that timeline, and bring out documentation, whether it's your new address, your new name, whatever the issue is. But do not let them turn you away. Do not let them tell you you cannot vote. And we do have election protection, folks, at both the early voting and at the polls during voting. So if there's any question, you can ask for the election protection person, and they will come and help you resolve the issue. There is, interestingly enough, now an exception to the photo ID requirement for anyone that has a religious objection to having a picture. There's a way for them to vote, even though you're supposed to have a picture. There's some forms they have to fill out. Okay, a couple myths about voting with disabilities. Sometimes it's said you can't bring somebody with you to vote. That is not correct. You can bring anyone with you to help you mark a ballot. The person cannot be your employer or an agent of your employer or an agent of your union. And it obviously can't be somebody whose name is currently on the ballot that they're running for something. So don't let anybody talk you into that. You can also get help in marking your ballot from the precinct election officials. And again, if you need some assistance, they will always send two, a Democrat and a Republican, to make sure that everything's done by the book. There is also sometimes the myth that places are not accessible for disabled folks. And I know we've had some discussion in here about some things that they don't see as making it difficult. I remember we had a discussion, and I did send this on, about sidewalks and the ability to walk. And again, that might be a good time to just have somebody take you and ask for curbside voting if you can't manage the sidewalks to getting in. All places are supposed to be accessible. They are supposed to have accessible parking, accessible route to the entrance. The voting machines and procedures are supposed to be accessible, and the equipment has to be accessible. They're supposed to have audio ballots, braille and tactile lettering, Zoom and large print, anything, even puff navigation for folks that can't use their arms or hands. If you have any concerns, you can come. Yes.
Let's get Mary Lynn a microphone because
Hold
Zoom
on.
cannot hear you.
They moved my precinct from something I could walk to something you couldn't walk to, no bus service at all. And I did call the Board of Elections. I said, what about accessibility for people who can't drive, whether it's disability or they can't afford a car, who are dependent on the bus? And they said, we don't consider that. If you can't get to a precinct because it's in a place where there is no public transportation, I think that's something they should consider.
I would agree with you. I'll pass that on. Again, they just don't, powers that be don't seem inclined to want to encourage people to vote anymore. But that it's true. That is an instance where I would strongly recommend that you vote absentee. I mean, that makes it easier until something like that is fixed. If you can't get to your, we don't have anybody that's reliably that I can find giving rides to the polls right now. That usually only, I'm sorry. Yeah, we used to have it, and it often crops up during a presidential year. Unfortunately, this is considered an off year, which is a term that bothers me because every election is important. And when you say it's an off year, people think, oh, it's not important. Yes, that you can check with your local church. You can check with any social service agencies you're connected to, but I could not find like a general, oh, here's where you can go to get a ride. You do have the opportunity to vote by mail, or if you can get a ride out early to Morse Road, I would recommend you try that. We're not going to get anything changed significantly between now and November 7th, but rest assured, we do work on these things. We do work on these issues because I don't think, I mean, you have good advocates. I will say that try to talk about disabilities and things that we don't, people that don't have that specific disability don't think of as a disability or don't think of as a barrier. But it's not going to change for this election.
Curly Roberts has her hand raised in Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, you better let me talk before I go away again. Just real quick, in Delaware County, do they have curbside in Delaware County also?
Yes, ma'am. Every county has curbside availability, both for early voting, and that would be at the Board of Elections, or for day of voting. Every county
So
is.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say every county is required to have curbside available.
Okay, day of voting, then do you still have to do that at the election places, or is it supposed to be available wherever your local?
If you're doing it on election day, it has to be available at your regular polling site.
Oh, how interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
You're doing it early. All the early voting is only at one location.
Yeah, I understand that.
Which is another barrier.
Okay. And do you have their number also for Delaware County?
I don't. I can look it up real quick.
Oh, that's okay. I'm sure we can find it. I don't want to put you to all that trouble.
I'm sorry, I don't have it, but it would be under Delaware County Board of Elections.
Okay. And Sean, I apologize to you again. I think you're the one manning the call. I've been trying to get this fixed, and it's not getting done very, very easily or quickly. So
No,
I apologize for the trouble.
You can also, Siri should be able to give you the number for your Board of Elections as well.
Mhm.
So you should be able to do it that way.
Also, Shirley, your voice is very loud, so you must have some setting on your phone.
I'm glad you got it.
Okay. It's a home phone. I don't think I can reset anything any differently, but I can talk softer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Another myth that's out there is that you have to have a reason to vote absentee. Back in the old days, you had to have a reason. That's not true anymore. You can vote early, not often, but early, either by absentee ballot or at the early voting center. There's nothing that says, why are you here early? You do not have to have a driver's license. That's another thing people will say, well, you got to have a driver's license. It's not true. In fact, it's become an issue with a lot of young people don't get driver's licenses anymore, which is, confounding to me. But yeah, they can't afford insurance or whatever. But you have to have a state issued ID card, which are free at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Okay. You can use a power of attorney to sign your name. If you're unable to sign your name, you can use an X. You can use anything that you can write as your name, or you can have a power of attorney, and the poll workers, either at the early voting or on election day, should be able to help you with that. You do not have to have a traditional signature. And the other myth is that you can't be a poll worker if you have a disability. And they say that's not true. You can work at the polls, and they're always looking for poll workers. There is a contact at the Secretary of State's office, an ADA coordinator, American Disability Act coordinator. You can call them if you have questions. Their number is 877-767-6446. So if you do have questions ahead of time, give them a call. and ask them. Now,
I have a question.
yes,
This is the president. Do you have an email you can email to myself or Denise with some of these high points you've made so that people can have it at their fingertips to look at?
I will be happy to do that. I have Denise's email. If you want me just to send her some of
Yes,
these
send her
notes.
some information
Okay.
and Denise, if you could post it to our chapter and then I can forward it to ACB Ohio so that people can just always be reminded of these things that she's sharing.
Thank you. There's just so much information. It just is, I think in a way we try to help people vote, but they just get so complex that it's hard to go through all this in less than an hour. Okay.
I have something.
Yes.
If you don't mind. So two things, and actually it might be more, there might be other people who can answer these questions, but the first question I have is the accessible absentee ballot that you can get. Is it still the kind where you have to print it off on your printer and mail it in? Or is it returned electronically?
I think they have an electronic system now. The request for it is something you have to print off and send in. But once that, they have a remote marking system. Has anybody used that system?
Not lately.
Okay, it's an online system, I think.
Well, if they don't have an accessible form for even requesting a ballot, that's something that if you all could maybe help advocate for, because
Absolutely.
it's one thing to vote, but even to independently request an absentee ballot and you're a
Yeah,
person.
you shouldn't have to mail that in.
Yes. Oh,
That's
we
Yeah.
agree with that for everybody. We think that there should be no need to request it. It should be automatic that absentee ballot applications, absentee ballot is just available to any registered voter. And we have been arguing for that.
Okay, keep arguing.
Oh, we will.
Now I'm at when I get home tonight, I will send out the link to the page where you can file for an absentee ballot. The first page looks real simple to, a dumb person like me. I don't know what happens after that.
It's fairly simple. It's just basic information with, the numbers you need. He's going to talk. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
One thing I did want to ask, the last election, I tried to get to the sample ballot on computer, never could get to it. A friend of mine got to it, but it wouldn't read. It read, she told me there were a lot of lines and things that I guess confused speaking software, but the speaking software, and I do have the latest up to date, it could not read the sample ballot.
Okay. Was that from the Secretary of State's website or was that vote411.org? Okay. Yeah.
From
So
Maryland,
did you-
from which website?
Which website?
Do you know whether it was finding used? Okay, because you can get that through the Secretary of State's website or vote411.org.
Well, and I'm just going to throw this in there as well. And depending on which website it is, doesn't really matter if the website or if the form is not accessible for those who use screen reading software. That's a problem as well.
Okay, I will bring that up. We control the vote411.org. That's a national website for the League of Women Voters. I will check that with them. I will also send that concern in to the Secretary of State.
And if you need someone to test it, let me know.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Something you said they cannot refuse you to vote, correct?
That's correct.
For what it's worth, in the 2020 election, they turned me away on Mainstream. They would not let Mainstream escort me. So we had to leave. And a friend did take me and I did vote, but they refused to let Mainstream bring me in and escort me.
Okay, if that happens, if somebody says no, you can't bring them in, or they can't you asked for the election protection person. Okay. Yeah, ask for the election protection person, and they are connected to attorneys that can help get a decision. Sometimes it's just the poll workers aren't real, well up on everything.
They're
or
not
something.
knowledgeable, they're ignorant to certain things.
That's true.
I'm
If
gonna
the
just be
question
blunt
hasn't
about
been
it.
asked before, they may not have learned it. But at the very least, you can vote provisionally. If they said it was your ID or whatever else, you ask for a provisional ballot. They wouldn't let you in. Okay, that's wrong. You should if that happens, you file a complaint. Okay.
Okay, I really do appreciate this active interaction, but we would love to
move along
to give Bridget a chance to present the issues, et cetera.
Okay. Sorry. The one more thing. We do produce, we being the League of Women Voters, produces a document and a website that includes what you're voting on. It's a newspaper-like form that's in the libraries. That's not going to do a lot of you a lot of good, but it is read in through the, is it Voice Corps? Yeah. Okay, yeah. In fact, they just asked for readers like 2 weeks ago. So Voice Corps should have that. This is a nonpartisan look at what you're voting on. What we do is we take any issues that are being voted on and we get a response for pros and cons from legitimate organizations that are supporting or not supporting an issue. If it's a candidate statement, we ask a couple of questions of any candidates. Whatever they write in response goes into this exactly as they wrote it. Even if they have a poor use of the English language, it goes in there. It's a wonderful resource. These are free at the libraries, so you can tell your family if you want somebody to pick one up for themselves or to read to you if you don't want to use Voice Corps. It's also a wonderful website in that when you go through the printed one, you got to find where you are, what precinct you're in, because things are different. If you go to the website, you put your address in and it brings up just what's going to be on your ballot, and you can print that out. You can decide how you're going to vote and print that out. So that makes it very simple. Vote411.org is where you would go to get the online version of that. .org. It's League of Women Voters. It's not a government entity. Okay, very quickly. I'm sorry, I'm going on too long here. There's two statewide issues I think probably everyone's heard about. Issue 1, the right to reproductive freedom with protections for health and safety. The League of Women Voters has not taken a stand on that issue or the second statewide issue, which is let me read it right. It's a state act that would control and regulate adult use of cannabis, which is marijuana. Okay. There are pros and cons in vote411.org on each issue that you can get a hold of and read and learn about. The first issue, issue 1, is an amendment to the Ohio Constitution, which is how we mostly make laws in Ohio. Issue 2 is an act, which if it's in the Constitution, the only way it can come out is if the voters take it out. The act on the marijuana is an act, which means it's a state, population says we should have this law. The General Assembly can change it because it's not in the Constitution. And the marijuana works for people 21 and over. There's a lot of information, pros and cons about these two issues. There's a lot of myths, especially about issue 1. I don't have time to go through all that today. I wish we did. But those are something everyone in the state is voting on. Other things you will find on your ballot are more local. Hold on a minute. Let me find them here. More local issues that you will see. You have some government races. These are races in Franklin County, we have municipal judges up, although None of the people on the ballot are contested. They have nobody running against them. We have the Columbus mayor is up. And there are 4 candidates for mayor altogether. I think one of them is a write-in candidate, and you'll get all that information from vote411.org. The existing mayor is running again. We have school board for Columbus, and a lot of areas have school board and have mayors too, the smaller areas. The Columbus School Board has 4 openings and 5 people running. The Columbus Council, City Council, if you live in the city, has a new method of allocating council members. It was voted in, I think, on the last election to change the city charter. We used to have 7 at-large council members. Everybody voted on them. Nobody had a specific area they worked in, geographically. They've changed it to 9 members, and the 9 members each have a specific geographic area that they will work in. So you can find who would be your representative.
Kind of like an alderman.
Oddly enough, everybody gets to vote on all 9.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, it's not like you just get to vote on the one in your area. But again, of the 9, there are only 3 that are contested, where there's somebody else on the ballot besides the one that's in right now. So 6 of the 9 are not contested. We have school boards being members being up, and I'll clue you into something that's in the legislature right now, has not happened yet. They're trying to make the school board races partisan, which means you have to declare a party, or obviously be an independent. That's working its way through. It's not there yet, so you won't see that on this ballot. We also have a school board levy in the city of Columbus. It's a pretty expensive levy. If it passes, it would be $269 per every 100,000 value of your house. Now, that's not the realtor's value. That's the value on the tax duplicate.
Excuse me, is that I'm not sure the right word, a relisting of a previous millage, or is that an increase?
I think this is an increase.
Yeah, the increase.
The Columbus Library system has a levy, which would be a $53 a year increase per 100,000. Those are the things you will see on your levy. There are also some local issues about alcohol sales in your precinct or your area. There's mayors and clerks of courts and in all the different areas. I can't get into all of those because obviously I'm losing my audience here. But I do encourage you to listen to the Vote Core recording of this information, or to have somebody go over this information with you. That's why I think it's so helpful to vote early at home, absentee, because you can sit down with somebody giving you the information, or you can figure out how you want to vote, and you don't have that pressure of standing in line on election day. There may be lines. The 2 state issues are bringing a lot of people out. So it may be really busy for an off year. Okay, with that, do we have any more questions? If you think of something later, if you can get a hold of Denise, she'll send it to me, and I'll try to get you an answer. I will pass your concerns on again. I would encourage you to think about joining the League of Women Voters. All of our activities, educational activities and activities where we advocate for things are done on Zoom, continually, or in person and on Zoom. Makes it easy to participate. And we need to hear your voices. Your concerns are different from a lot of the concerns we hear, and we're happy to advocate and work. And we do work constantly. We have a state office that is still working through the gerrymandering issue. That's probably going to exceed my lifetime at this point, but we do have a very active, what we call lobby corps, that goes down to the State House and brings up issues. as they try to change this legislation. We have had some successes, not as many as we would like. Anything else?
Well, I'd like to make everyone aware that Bridget originally had a scheduling conflict and she rearranged her schedule to come and present today, and we appreciate her faithful
Thank you,
dedication.
Bridget.
I enjoy coming. I like it better than on Zoom. And it's very handy for me. I'll be back before the end of the game, probably. I live right out here in Clintonville. So
Thank you very much.
Please register. If you're not registered, vote early.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very good. Very good. Thank you.